Alright, so right now we're going to talk about captive bead rings. We'll try and go over the three main aspects of a captive bead ring, and that being sizing, insertion, and removal. Okay. First thing we'll talk about is, let's go over sizing. Okay, so what does the measurement of a captive bead ring mean? Okay, so first off, you have a gauge, and then you have a diameter. Okay, so right here we're looking at, grab this pin, we have an 18 gauge captive bead ring, we have a 16 gauge captive bead ring, and a 14 gauge captive bead ring. And then right here is going to be a 12 gauge captive bead ring. The gauge refers to the thickness of the ring. Okay? Now, the second aspect of a captive bead ring is the diameter. Alright, so diameter means the inside circumference of the captive bead ring. Okay? Right here we have a 1/2 inch captive bead ring, and these are all 3/8. So if I was to measure from inside to inside, it's 3/8 on all three of these middle rings. Okay? Great. Alright, so the next thing is going to be, obviously, how do you insert a captive bead ring? Alright, so we have two different methods to do that. First off, we have your hands, and the second is going to be tools. Okay? Now, let's grab the 16 gauge captive bead ring right here. Alright? So, obviously, you need to remove this bead first. So, how are you going to remove it? The best way for me, I hold the ring on the side between these two fingers, and then I grab the bead between these two fingers. Now, what I want to do is I want to pull apart with this hand, and I'm going to take the bead and pull apart and flip it out. Okay? So, I'm going to make this look really easy right now. And there it is. Pretty simple, okay? Now, this is something you're going to practice a little bit before you go put it into the piercing, just so you have a good grasp on it. Putting the bead back in, pretty simple, same concept, just in reverse, but I have the bead here, two little divots on either side showing between my fingers. I'm going to set one divot on there, and I'm just going to snap it into place. And there we go, just like so, okay? Pretty simple. Alright, so now let's say we want to get the bead off with a tool, okay? Say we have a thicker ring, such as this 12 gauge right here, alright? We're going to use these guys right here, our ring expanders, alright? We're going to set the ring expanders inside the ring, and ever so slightly, you don't want to bend the ring, you just want to barely spread it so it'll snap back into place. I'm going to open the ring just barely, and my bead should come out really smoothly, okay? Really important not to open it or over bend it to the point where you mess up the ring. Now let's do the same thing in reverse to get the bead back in there. Put the ever slightest bit of tension on there, and you'll feel the bead just kind of snap right back into place, just like so, okay? Now, what happens if I do actually squeeze it too much and I over bend the ring? Oh, let's do it. So, let's say we just squeeze the ring too much, and now there's way too big of a big gap in there, okay? That's where these guys come into play. Oops, let's set the bead right there. That's where these guys come into play. These are ring closers, okay? And like I said, these are worst case scenario. You don't want to have to use these, but we got to in this case. I'm going to take the ring, evenly set it in the ring closer, and I'm just going to barely squeeze her down. Just enough, okay? Now I'm going to jump back over here to my ring expanders, set it inside my captive bead ring, make sure to set it evenly and in the center, and same thing. I'm just going to pop my bead in there, squeeze her ever so gently, and there it is. Everything's back to normal. Alright, great. So, that's your basic bead removal and insertion. Now, let's say we want to put them in the actual piercing. How do you go about that? Alright, well there's two ways to do it, okay? So, first off, I'm going to take that bead off. I'm going to use a 16 gauge captive bead ring here. Okay, so here's our ring right there, beads out. Now, you can say if it's like an earlobe or something like that, you can probably just squeeze your earlobe between that piercing and slide it through, okay? Now, if you can't manage to squeeze it through there, then you're gonna have to bend the ring, okay? So say it's a piercing such as a nostril piercing, a septum piercing. Piercing is a little bit thicker than this gap, you're gonna have to bend the ring, okay? Now, as a general rule of thumb, as a body piercer, you never wanna take that ring and open it this way, okay? Because when you go to close it back down, it's usually gonna come out oval or warped, okay? So you always take the ring and you wanna bend it this way, okay? Now let me give you an example here. I'm gonna evenly hold it on both sides, okay? Making sure not to hold it too much on one side or the other. I'm gonna take the ring, I'm gonna open it up like that, okay? Now most rings are annealed right here in the middle so that you can bend it just like so, all right? Now I'm gonna slide it into my piercing, and then I'm gonna do the exact same thing in reverse. I'm gonna grab onto either end, bend it back into shape, and it should be perfectly round once again, okay? Now, I'm making this look a lot easier than it is because I do this all day, every day. So if you have any like doubts or concerns, just go to your local piercing or your piercing shop, and they should totally help you, no problem. But then again, it's not rocket science. There's no reason why you couldn't do this on your own, okay? So let's say we have this back in the piercing. Now we just gotta pop our captive bead or our bead back into our ring. So same thing, I'm gonna find the divots, set it, attach it to the ring here, and I'm just gonna push down. And there we have it, snaps back into place. And if you needed to, you could also use these ring expanders to kind of pop that bead back in also. But there you have it. That's your basic captive bead ring 101. Not much to it. It's not rocket science. It does take a little bit of practice, but it's one of those things with practice anybody can do it. It's not that hard. Cool. And then any problems, any questions, just go into a piercing shop and have them help you. Most shops are going to be more than happy to help you out. All right, great.